Welcome to another episode of the Bandage Podcast, a weekly wrap-up of the most trending healthcare news. Each week, we'll discuss the latest in healthcare, health IT, and compliance.
In this week's episode, we discuss nursing standards for jail, automating disinfection processes in the United States Court of Appeals, new ruling. Let's wrap things up. This is episode 100 for the week of August 30th. I'm Matt Moneypenny.
And I'm Albert Battistelli.
Before we get started, our diagnosis code of the week is V97.21XA, or parachutus entangled in object. Initial encounter.
Initial encounter? Because they get several. This has happened
I didn't know that parachutist was a word, but I love it. It might be my new favorite word.
Oh man, when I see initial encounter, I think of like, you're parachuting, you get like tangled up in it, you get free, you continue parachuting normally, you get tangled up again. That's not your initial encounter. This only applies to the first time that happens.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's just like it's like that scene in every like movie where there's someone who falls out of an airplane and then hits a tree and then keeps going down all the way. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. But it's just the initial encounter of it, right? So the subsequent branches that they hit on the way down are a different code.
Different code. Right. I'm sure we'll find that sometime.
So,
initial branch. That's what I
initial branch.
Parachutist hits branch. Initial encounter.
Anyways, happy 100th episode. Wow. What a day.
What an honor.
What a day. On. Yeah, what an honor. True honor.
True honor to be here for our 100th episode.
Anyways, let's get into the news. First up, we have turning over a new leaf. A new company will be providing nurses 24/7 for inmate healthcare at DeKalb County Jail in Tennessee starting in September. Although it will cost more on the front end, Sheriff Patrick Ray recommended that the county sign in on the fast access of Chattanooga to provide 24/7 nursing care at the jail. He formally made the request at the Health, Education, and Public Welfare Committee meeting on Monday, August 9th. The committee voted to recommend that the county commission enter into a contract at an annual cost of $377,000.
Oh, that's something.
It's good news.
Yeah, good news, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, if you're an inmate at the jail, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
It's also a county jail, which is good because there's been a lot of debate about private prisons recently.
Sure.
In the last presidential race specifically. So, if Tennessee is a supporter of that, push away from private county jail or private jails, then that makes sense for the politician to make that move.
Yeah.
But overall, providing healthcare access to prisoners is probably a good move.
Right. Especially 24/7 access. That's, I don't know.
I don't know how many nurses there will be.
Right.
I don't know what type of nurses they'll be. Like, are they going to be newer nurses or more experienced nurses? Either way, I guess it doesn't matter. But, I mean, it just makes it that much more appealing to become a nurse because it's more demand for you as a nurse.
Absolutely.
And there's already not enough nurses in the world, Albert.
No, I agree with you.
So.
I agree with you.
Very expensive, though.
Let's put them in jails.
Very expensive. Put the nurses in jail.
Put the nurses in jail. Oh, wrong headline. Sorry. New meaning of clean. UV Clean is a newly developed automated self-disinfection solution to enhance disinfection protocol for frequently touched objects and high-tech services at hospitals and healthcare facilities. The device offers the healthcare industry a no-touch infection prevention option for point-of-care, nurse stations, laboratories, pharmacies, and examination rooms. Additionally, it helps prevent health-related employee absenteeism and presenteeism in shared clinical and non-clinical workspaces.
So this is a device, I think. Mm-hmm. A newly developed automated self-disinfection solution to enhance disinfection protocol for frequently touched objects and high-tech. Is this just hand sanitizer?
That's what I'm wondering. That definition was put together by a committee.
It sounds really cool.
Right.
I don't know if it is as cool as it sounds.
It's hand sanitizer.
But it's cool that, hospitals are continuing to look for new ways to keep people clean.
I mean, it's described as a device, which makes me think it's some sort of like spray gun type thing. Like,
Yeah, that could be it.
I don't know.
Or a device could just be a dispenser.
Sure, you're right.
As someone who works in marketing, you got to be careful with how they phrase things. But if it's actually a device, it's pretty neat.
That's cool.
Anything that they can do to keep hospitals clean, considering how dirty they usually are, is good. There was a story a long time ago of people getting dysentery at hospitals. So, that was scary. But good luck with UV clean, I guess.
No, I'm looking it up now, trying to there. Oh, that's kind of what it looks like. It's like a weird thing.
Oh, it's like a light.
Yeah,
so
it's
that
kind
explains
of like a light.
the ultraviolet.
Yeah.
I had a feeling there might have been something with ultraviolet.
Yeah.
But you never know. So it looks like a light that goes. So if you ever played Game Boy back in the day.
A worm light.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's a worm light for touch devices. This is pretty great.
I like that. That's sweet.
Honestly, you should Google it if you're listening.
That's a cool thing. I've turned a new leaf on UV clean to reference the last story. So. Next up, Appeals Court ruling AMN versus AYA. The United States Court of Appeals in the Ninth Circuit has ruled in favor of AMN Healthcare against AYA Healthcare. AYA filed a lawsuit because of the language in the contract that prevented subcontracting staffing firms from soliciting AMN employees. The situation initially began over 6 years ago when AMN originally sued AYA in an attempt to prevent AMN recruiters from joining AYA, limiting their mobility in the travel nurse industry. AMN's strong-arm tactics did not work, and AYA vigorously defended itself and its employees. In its opinion, the Court of Appeals wrote that AYA did not prove that AMN's non-solicitation agreement had a substantial anti-competitive effect that harms consumers in the relevant market. The court also rejected a claim for retaliatory damages because it said no evidence was presented of a quote, cartel or concerted action when the subcontracting deal between AMN and AYA was terminated in 2015. So if you have no idea what I just said, basically two healthcare organizations went at it because of staffing disagreements.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to say. Like, I'm going to need to unpack this in a minute.
Yeah.
Travel
There's a lot of references.
There's a lot
of A's, a lot of, M's, a lot of N's. A lot of AYAs and AMNs.
It's travel nurses. Join.
I'm going to make it a little bit more complicated.
Right.
AYA
got
lost against AMN. So basically, AMN will not be able to make amends with AYA.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. You did make that. You made it worse.
Yeah, so travel nurses. That's basically it. There were staffing issues with travel nurses.
All right.
So, take that as you want. Sounds nice.
Well.
Glad that, the law is still in play with healthcare.
Yes.
It's important.
Anyways,
let's get on to our next segment.
BREACH, Breach Patrol. It's a breach! All of the latest cybersecurity breaches.
Welcome to Breach Patrol. We talk about the latest breaches all across the world. Albert, take it away.
Okay, back to school breach alerts. Life 360 launches free data breach alerts to support families this back-to-school season. With many families continuing virtual learning as kids head back to school, the time children spend online will increase, leaving families vulnerable to identity threats. In fact, 32% of families across the U.S. have experienced identity fraud, according to the recent Life 360 survey. Unlike other identity theft protection services, data breach alerts by Life 360 provide families with cyber protection. They're the only family-focused dark web monitoring service offered completely for free. Members have a complete view of their family's breaches and next steps to secure their information just by opening the app. Did I just record an advertisement? Because that's 100% what that sounded like.
I think you did. We are not sponsored by Life 360, although their marketing department did a good job of making themselves sound like a very interesting and affordable and high-tech identity protection services, which basically that's all that is.
Yeah, family-focused, dark web monitoring.
Free data breach alerts to support families back to school season. Right. So there was a couple of breaches back in the day that related to families in schools in particular. I don't remember which particular university it was, but there was probably a handful. So Life 360 decided that they were going to take that opportunity upon themselves and offer this free data breach alert, which is honestly probably an intern who's just researching data breaches like we do on a weekly basis.
Yeah, there you go. See?
And then alerting them through an app.
Right.
So, no, we're not sponsored by them. It's neat that they're taking an opportunity like this. But the cool takeaway from this as well, interesting at least, is 32% of families across the U.S. have experienced identity fraud, which is bad.
That is bad.
But that's also a survey that's provided by Life 360. Right. So, take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
Next up, AT&T denies breach. Telecommunications company AT&T has trashed claims that the personal data of 70 million of its customers has been stolen by the threat actor Shiny Hunters. On an underground hacking forum, Shiny Hunters shared a small sample of its data they claim to have swiped from AT&T, and the threat actor also offered to sell the whole database for the price of $1 million. Researchers at Restore Privacy analyzed a sample of data shared by the threat actor. The researchers said that they cannot yet confirm that the data is from AT&T customers. However, everything they examined appears to be valid. They believe that Shiny Hunters has accessed customer data, including names, phone numbers, physical addresses, email addresses, social security numbers, and birth dates. What a bargain. 70 million.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
70 million customers' data for $1 million.
It's like the scene in Austin Powers where Dr. Evil's like, $1 million, and everyone's like, should you ask for more?
That's exactly what it is.
That's what's happening here. Shiny Hunters needs to step up his...
They're bargainers, you know?
That's true.
They're like resellers.
They are, yes.
They're like, yeah, so,
He's the Dollar General of the...
Shiny Hunters.
Of threat actors.
I love the names of hacking organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Shiny Hunters. There was another one called Lizard Squad.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. They're very creative. You got to give it to them. But,
sure.
Goes back to, if you think that you're being breached by AT&T, it's unconfirmed. Right. Of course, AT&T is going to deny it until it's proven that it's 100% accurate because that saves space for the organization and they're a massive company. But hopefully the information is inaccurate and they're bluffing. But it doesn't seem like they are in this case. But who knows? You got to follow this story for more information. But social security numbers, that's bad. But it also goes back to what I've said before, where it's like there's so much information here that it's going to take more time to go through the information and actually steal these people's identity than it will. It's like everyone gets breached,
right?
So it's like it almost like it feels like it gets to the point where everyone's going to get breached, no matter what. There's nothing you can do. Oh well,
right? That's kind of how it feels. Yeah,
it's like dystopian.
It is. Also, you'd think for $1 million, AT&T could have made this go away already. They could have just been like, here you go. Like, we've got this, like...
Yeah, they're like a monopoly.
Yeah, it's like petty cash. Like, here, just take this from the...
They should just buy the database.
Desk. Right. Just be like, we'll buy that back. There you go. Thank you. Take your $1 million. Be on your way. All right. And lastly, the police get hacked, too. An untold number of private citizens are on alert for identity theft more than a year after Haladon Police in New Jersey experienced a hack of sensitive data on their computer network. Officials would not answer questions about the incident this month. In a letter dated August 12th from Haladon Police Chief Angelo Daniel, recipients were told that their names, driver's license numbers, and social security numbers were kept in the affected databases and that they should be vigilant against identity theft and fraud.
Ah, my favorite word. Stay vigilant, Albert. You gotta stay vigilant. Always vigilant.
That'd be a good product name.
Ooh, that would be a good name.
That'd be a good name, yeah.
So police. Yikes. I mean, I don't think that, hacking a municipality, it sounds really scary, but there's a lot of small municipalities out there, so sure. It doesn't surprise me.
And they probably don't have advanced cybersecurity anyway.
Yeah, I've never heard of Haladon, New Jersey, so It might be a small town.
It's just Doris on the computer making sure that McAfee is updated.
She's been working there for 30 years. Everyone loves her.
Every time that little thing pops up in the corner,
she hasn't updated McAfee since the 90s.
She's just like, oh, and just clicks out of it so that it moves on.
But yeah, that shouldn't happen. Update your virus protection software, because that's one of the biggest ways that people get into and hack your your device is by not updating your software. So, I like that the police chief said to stay vigilant against identity theft and fraud. Obviously, they got to figure out what's more information about what happened and who was breached. Okay, here's an ethical question. If the breach happened and it was only prisoners' information, would you be upset?
Yes.
Sure.
Still citizens.
Although, what if in another dystopian future,
wow,
if you're sentenced as a criminal or a felon,
sure,
your information, some of your sensitive information gets published to the public, like your health records.
Ooh.
That's wild.
That is wild.
But is it that big of a deal? Like if you smash the mailbox, instead of doing like community service, people just publish your health records.
I feel like that's way worse.
That does sound worse.
Publishing any sort of like private information would be way worse. Just put me out on the street.
Just throwing ideas out there.
I'll pick up trash.
I'd be a very creative judge.
I'd be a very creative judge. Yes, you would, Matt.
And that's it for this week's wrap up of your weekly healthcare news. I'm Matt Moneypenny.
I'm Albert Battistelli.
And we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Bandage Podcast produced by eTactics.